Be me, Elizabeth, 34, currently employed at a tech company, married to David for 8 years, together for 11. Consider myself progressive, fighting the good fight every day, constantly educating people about systemic oppression and problematic behaviors. It's exhausting being one of the few people who actually gets it, but someone has to do the work. 3 years ago, David just stopped touching me. No explanation, just complete withdrawal. No kisses goodbye, no hugs, no hand-holding during movies, definitely no intimacy. Won't even cuddle on the couch. Every time I bring it up, he deflects or changes subject. We'll talk about it later, but later never comes. Tonight is different, though. Corner him in kitchen at 11:47 p.m. after he tries to escape to his office again. David, we need to talk about this, right now. I'm serious. He sighs, sets down his water glass. Elizabeth, please, it's late and I have an early meeting. No, I've been patient for 3 years. Something is seriously wrong with our marriage and you won't even acknowledge it. Feel my voice getting sharper, more insistent. This is exactly the kind of stonewalling behavior that keeps women from having their voices heard. You're literally gaslighting me by pretending this isn't happening. This is emotional abuse, David. See him flinch at that word. Good. Maybe now he'll take this seriously. He rubs his temples like I'm giving him a headache. Typical male response when confronted with accountability. I'm not gaslighting you, Elizabeth. And this isn't abuse. That's actually part of the problem. What's that supposed to mean? The way you weaponize therapy language. The way everything is abuse or gaslighting or problematic. Can't believe what I'm hearing. So, now you're tone policing me in my own home for advocating for myself? Cross my arms. Lean against counter. This is exactly what Dr. Miranda warned about in her workshop about male fragility. This is classic deflection, David. You're making me the problem instead of addressing your own behavior. He's quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands, then looks up with this expression I can't read. You really want to know why I stopped touching you? Obviously. I've been asking for 3 years. Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you. Heart actually starts racing a little. What could possibly be so terrible that he couldn't tell me for 3 years? Prepare myself for him to admit to an affair or some other betrayal. Just say it, David. He takes this deep breath like he's about to jump off a cliff. Remember Michael and Jessica's wedding 3 years ago in September? Of course I remember. It was this whole weekend thing, upstate. What about it? You spent the entire reception lecturing Jessica's grandmother about how the institution of marriage is rooted in patriarchal ownership of women. Feel my face getting hot. I was educating her. She was making incredibly problematic statements about women's roles. She's 93 years old, Elizabeth. She was talking about how happy she was that her granddaughter found love. Age doesn't excuse internalized misogyny, David. He continues like I didn't even speak. Then you cornered the bride during her own reception to explain how wearing white reinforces purity culture. Okay, maybe that wasn't the best timing, but someone needed to point it out. Jessica thanked me later for opening her eyes. No, Elizabeth. She cried in the bathroom. I saw Michael comforting her. That's not... Jessica was emotional because it was her wedding day. She was overwhelmed. That's normal. You're completely mischaracterizing what happened. Then you gave an impromptu speech during the toasts about how the phrase giving away the bride perpetuates women as property, which is factually accurate. You made Michael's 12-year-old sister cry because you told her that fairy tales about princesses are anti-feminist propaganda that teaches girls to be passive. Feel my jaw clench. Children need to understand these concepts early or they internalize harmful messages. It's never too early to develop critical thinking skills about media representation. She was reading a book, Elizabeth, a children's book about a princess who saves a dragon. This is so typical. Bring up legitimate concerns about societal conditioning, and suddenly I'm the villain. So you're punishing me for caring about important issues, for trying to make the world better. I'm not punishing you for caring. I was trying to protect myself. Protect yourself from what exactly? Another long pause. He's looking at me like I'm some kind of stranger. That night, after the wedding, we came home, and you were still worked up about all the problematic behavior you'd witnessed. Remember feeling frustrated that no one else seemed to notice the issues I was pointing out? And we started kissing on the couch. Things were getting heated, and then, oh God, where is this going? Starting to feel sick to my stomach. Then what? You stopped everything to lecture me about how the expectation that women should be sexually available after social events is a form of coercion rooted in marital rape culture. Wait, what? I was making an important point about consent and societal expectations. I was starting a conversation about enthusiastic consent. During foreplay, Elizabeth, you stopped kissing me to explain how my desire for intimacy with my own wife was perpetuating rape culture. Feel like the room is spinning a little. That's not what I meant. He's taking it out of context. I wasn't saying you were. I was talking about societal patterns. You compared me to Harvey Weinstein. I did not compare you to Harvey Weinstein. You said that men who expect sex after social events exist on the same spectrum as Harvey Weinstein. Okay, maybe I used that example, but it was to illustrate a point about consent culture. That was an academic comparison about power dynamics. You called me a potential predator, Elizabeth. Voice is getting louder now. Can't help it. I was trying to have an important conversation about consent. He's shaking his head like I'm completely missing something obvious. During foreplay, on our anniversary weekend, you psychoanalyzed my sexuality and found it problematic. That's not what happened. Then you spent 20 minutes explaining how my arousal was evidence of toxic masculinity and patriarchal entitlement. Chest feels tight, can barely breathe properly. He's completely twisting what was supposed to be an educational moment. I was trying to help you understand unconscious biases. You pathologized my attraction to you. I was encouraging reflection on societal conditioning. You made me feel like a monster for wanting to be intimate with my wife. This is insane. He's making me sound like some kind of crazy person. So, you decided to punish me by withdrawing all affection for 3 years. I didn't mean to punish you. I couldn't touch you anymore without hearing your voice in my head explaining how my desire was problematic. Feel tears starting, which makes me even angrier. Crying is exactly what he wants. Proof that women are too emotional to engage rationally. This is ridiculous, David. I was trying to make our relationship better by addressing harmful patterns. You turned our marriage into a sociology experiment. I was applying critical analysis to improve our dynamic. You were treating me like a case study in toxic masculinity. Can't stop the tears now, which is humiliating. So instead of communicating about your feelings, you just shut down completely? I tried to talk to you about it, multiple times. That's not true. He never... Wait, what do you mean you tried? Remember when I suggested we take a break from discussing social issues during intimate moments? Vaguely remember him saying something about keeping politics out of the bedroom. That was tone policing. You were trying to silence me. I asked if we could have one space in our relationship that wasn't about systemic oppression. Everything is political, David. Ignoring these issues is privilege. I asked if you could see me as your husband instead of a representative of the patriarchy. I've never. That's completely unfair. Last month, you explained during dinner how my preference for action movies demonstrates my complicity in militaristic masculinity. Media consumption reflects and reinforces cultural values. I can't even express preferences without being analyzed for problematic thought patterns. Feel like I'm losing control of this entire conversation. He's acting like caring about important issues makes me some kind of monster. So, you're saying that my political consciousness is incompatible with marriage? I'm saying that you've turned every aspect of our relationship into an opportunity to educate me about my own moral failings. Voice is getting higher, sharper. Maybe because you need educating, maybe because you refuse to examine your privilege. I can't hold your hand without you explaining how heteronormative couple behaviors reinforce the gender binary. Because they do reinforce the gender binary, I can't compliment your appearance without a lecture on male gaze and objectification. He's completely missing the point, as usual. Those are important conversations, David. Not during every single interaction we have. When else am I supposed to bring them up? You avoid serious topics. Because every topic becomes serious with you. I can't mention being tired without hearing about emotional labor. I can't express frustration without being accused of male rage. This is exactly what happens when women try to hold men accountable. They turn it around and make us the problem. Maybe if you actually listened instead of getting defensive. I have listened, Elizabeth. For 8 years I've listened. I've read your books, attended your workshops, nodded along while you explained my unconscious biases. Then why haven't you changed? The question hangs in the air between us. Can see something shift in his expression, something cold and final. I have changed. I've become someone who can't touch his own wife without feeling like a predator. Words hit like a slap. That's not my fault. That's your guilt about your own behavior. What behavior, Elizabeth? What have I actually done? The fact that you don't see it proves the point. No, tell me. What specific thing have I done to you? Mind races through years of interactions looking for concrete examples. It's not about specific incidents. It's about patterns, systems, unconscious behaviors. It's not about individual actions. It's about participating in oppressive structures. Give me one example, one thing I've actually done. The way you benefit from privilege, that's not something I did to you. Feel trapped, cornered. Why can't he understand that this is bigger than individual actions? You're deliberately missing the point. The point is that you've spent 3 years trying to figure out why I stopped touching you, and when I tell you, you argue with my explanation. Because your explanation doesn't make sense. I was trying to help our relationship. By treating me like an enemy, I've never treated you like an enemy. You've treated me like a problem to be solved, a representative of everything wrong with men. Voice cracking now, can barely control it. That's not true. When's the last time you said something positive about me that wasn't followed by a but or an explanation of how I could do better? Try to think of a recent example. Surely I compliment him. Show appreciation. I told you. Your presentation was good last week, and then explained how my speaking style reflects male socialization to dominate conversations. That was just an observation, meant to be helpful. I was encouraging self-reflection. I can't win with you, Elizabeth. If I'm confident, it's toxic masculinity. If I'm uncertain, it's weaponized incompetence. If I'm emotional, I'm centering my feelings. If I'm not emotional, I'm emotionally unavailable. Those are real patterns. They're real patterns that you apply to everything I do. I'm not a person to you anymore. I'm a collection of problematic behaviors to be corrected. Feel completely overwhelmed now. This wasn't supposed to go this way. I love you, David. Everything I do is because I love you and want us to be better. No, Elizabeth. You love the idea of who I could become if I just listened to enough criticism. You don't love who I actually am. That's not true. That's completely unfair. Of course I love him. That's why I'm trying to help him grow. Growth requires discomfort, not constant surveillance, not having every thought and action analyzed for signs of internalized oppression. I'm not surveilling you. You correct my language, my interests, my reactions, my preferences. You've appointed yourself the morality police of our relationship. Tears flowing freely now, and I hate it. Hate that he's making me cry. Hate that I'm proving his point about emotional manipulation. So, what are you saying? You want a wife who just agrees with everything and never challenges you? I want a wife who sees me as a human being instead of a project. The words hang between us like a death sentence. Feel something fundamental cracking apart inside. After everything we've built together, you're going to throw it all away because you can't handle being challenged? I'm not throwing anything away. You dismantled it piece by piece every time you chose being right over being kind. That's when I completely lose it. Start screaming about how he's gaslighting me, manipulating me, how this is exactly what abusive men do when confronted with their behavior. Throw my water glass at the wall and it shatters. You're destroying our marriage because you can't handle a strong woman." He just stands there calmly while I'm falling apart, which makes me even angrier because his composure proves he's the one with emotional regulation. "You're leaving because I make you uncomfortable, because I refuse to be a silent, submissive wife. I'm leaving because you've made it impossible for me to love you." Those words cut deeper than anything he's said. That's not true. When's the last time we laughed together? When's the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about what I need to understand or change or check myself on? Can't think of a single example. Relationships require work. This isn't work, Elizabeth. This is psychological warfare. Watch him walk upstairs. Follow him, still crying and yelling. "You can't just leave. You made vows. You promised to love me." He's pulling clothes from drawers, stuffing them into a suitcase. "I kept my vows for 8 years, but I can't love someone who sees love as a tool for correction." Grab his arm, trying to stop him from packing. "David, please. We can work this out. I'll try to be different." He gently removes my hand from his arm. "You can't be different, Elizabeth. This is who you are, and you shouldn't have to be different." "Then why are you leaving?" "Because I can't be who you need me to be, either." He zips the suitcase closed. "This is really happening. Where will you go?" "I'll stay at my brother's until I find a place." "What about counseling? What about trying to save our marriage?" "What marriage? We're roommates who critique each other's existence." Follow him downstairs, begging now. "Please don't do this. I love you. I'll change, I promise." Don't change, Elizabeth. Find someone who appreciates being educated about their flaws. Find someone who wants to be your student instead of your partner. I don't want anyone else. Then maybe examine why you can't love someone without trying to fix them. He pauses at the front door with his suitcase. "For what it's worth, I really did love you. The you that existed before you decided I was the enemy. I never thought you were the enemy. Everything I am, everything I feel, everything I want, you've pathologized all of it. You turned my love for you into evidence of patriarchal entitlement." Door closes behind him with this quiet finality. Stand there in the empty hallway, still crying. House feels enormous and silent around me. Keep expecting him to come back, to realize he's being dramatic. But his car starts up outside and pulls away. Sink down onto the couch where we used to watch movies. Before I ruin that too by analyzing every film for problematic content. Realize I don't even know how to exist in a space without constantly evaluating everything for signs of oppression. It's like I forgot how to just be. Spend the rest of the night going through our relationship in my head, trying to find examples of times when I just loved him without commentary. Can't find many. Every memory is tainted with my voice explaining why something was problematic. Even our first kiss, I remember analyzing the power dynamics afterward. Text him around 4 a.m. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize." He responds an hour later. "I know you didn't. That's the problem. Can we try again? I'll be better. Be better for yourself, Elizabeth. Find someone who wants to be educated. I just wanted to be loved." Last message comes through while I'm sitting in our empty bedroom. "I hope you find happiness. I really do. Just maybe consider that not everything needs to be a teaching moment. Want to argue, to explain that caring about justice isn't wrong, but for the first time in years, I don't have a response. Realize I've become so focused on making the world better that I forgot how to make my husband feel loved. Spent 3 years wondering why he wouldn't touch me. Never occurred to me that I'd made touching me feel like a political statement, made our marriage into a constant seminar on his inadequacies. 6:47 a.m. now, sun coming up. David is gone, house is quiet. For the first time in 8 years, no one needs me to educate them. No one needs me to point out their unconscious biases. No one needs me to explain how their behavior perpetuates systemic oppression. Sit here wondering if he was right. If I really did turn love into a weapon for correction. If I made him feel like loving me was evidence of his moral failings. Maybe being right isn't worth being alone, but also can't shake the feeling that he just couldn't handle being with a woman who wouldn't stay quiet about important issues. Typical male fragility, leaving when confronted with accountability. Except, he stayed for 8 years, listened for 8 years, tried for 8 years. Maybe the problem wasn't that he couldn't handle a strong woman. Maybe the problem was that I couldn't handle loving a flawed human being without trying to perfect him first. Phone buzzes with a text from my sister. How are things with David? Stare at the message for 10 minutes. Finally type back. He left. What happened? I happened.